over 1,600 mentees impacted by the Women in Politics program. Isn't that a lot of people? If you're clapping, you know what clapping does? Let me find the letter C. Creative. It makes you creative. It opens your mind up to new possibilities. Now, the gender bills, there were 5 of them. And the woman I am about to invite is known as the General, Dr. AAA, Abiola Akioyode-Afolabi, ED of WARDC. Please step forward for the political environment analysis of the 5 gender bills in Nigeria. It's a report supported by USAID and PALLADIUM. Is that how to salute a general? You're very welcome.
Well, let me first start by thanking Wimbies for giving me this platform to speak. It's a great platform. Speaking with over 2,000 women, we can't get it anywhere. So thank you very much. Somebody asked me this morning while networking to introduce myself, especially because we've been talking about profit here. And she said, where do you work? And I said, I work for not-for-profit. And he was looking at me. I said, yes, but I'm here to talk about profit. But before I go to that, last week we had an engagement with women from the private sector. And one of the things that I mentioned during that engagement was a particular case that we were handling, and that's going to dovetail me into the conversation about what possibility can the Constitution give to us. There was a young lady, 13 years old, who was an orphan, and from age 9 was staying with a guardian. And the guardian, the person who's supposed to be the father, was abusing this girl from age 9 till age 13. So I mentioned this case last week. On my way here this morning, while I was on the 3rd Mainland Bridge, the whistleblower called me and said there is a new development. And I asked him, we are looking for the man, so what's the development? Have you found him? He said no. We realized yesterday that that 13-year-old child was 8 months pregnant. And I said, I wish I can just turn back and drive down to Ibadan, where the case. So I'll be going there right after this speech today, because in the morning, I think when Dr. Oseni Rufai was talking, he was talking about mental health. And I kept telling my sister who came here with me that every time I try to remember, it brings something, to my mental health. 13-year-old, 8 months pregnant. Do you remember Oshaya? The young girl in Benue State who died, who was abused by the supposedly father figure in the house. And of course, later on, further abused by the son to that father. This case is so similar. That 8-month pregnancy was by the 15-year-old son of the man. So then you ask yourself, and for me, I'm starting here because it's the story of women. Some of us might be lucky, but it is not, that luck is not very common. The data that is coming from everywhere is showing that out of 10 women, at least 3 of them must have suffered one abuse or the other in their lifetime. And unfortunately, that number is gradually rising, despite the fact that there are efforts to ensure that things like this are addressed. So I'm bringing this up here today because there are a lot of conversation about us repackaging, us putting our narrative in the right place. I'm appealing to women in business. You have left women in not-for-profit for too long. We need to all work together to make Nigeria possible. To make Nigeria possible for that young girl that's 13 years old, that we need to begin to have a conversation about whether she will survive that pregnancy. There are medical practitioners here, and we know the implication, of this for a child that is 13, or for that son that is 15, that probably lives in a place where it's a room and a parlor, and every day sees the father abuse that young girl and other people. It's a long story, and feels it's the right thing to do. And at the age of 15, impregnated a 13-year-old child. So, for me, and that's why I think the partnership is very important. Every day we see this, and we thought the best way to deal with it is through policies. So in 2003, civil society organizations came together and we had what is called Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. It started as Violence Against Women Prohibition Act. And the men in the National Assembly said, is it only women? So it's violence, are they not beating us? I said, okay. Now that you have admitted that you are also being beaten, so let's enlarge it to Violence Against Persons, Prohibition Act. So we were there for 2003 till 2015. And we were able to pass that Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act in 2015. So, thank you very much. After 2015, knowing fully that Nigeria is a federal state, so we knew that that federal act is only applicable to the FCT. So meaning that other states have to pass it again. So we started a journey. With quite a number of people, we decided to be friendly with Nigerian Governors' Wives Forum, particularly when Erelubisi Fayemi was the chair. So we went around, and I can confidently say today, with the work of civil society across the country, out of the 36 states, 34 states have been able to pass the Violence Against Persons Prohibition. We are waiting for Lagos. Lagos has the domestic violence prohibition law. So we hope that Lagos will be able to have that one that is much more comprehensive. And we're also waiting for Kano. So those are the two states that we're still waiting for. So we will still continue. And so I know Lagos has started the process of expanding, what they have. Lagos has done quite a lot in this regard. So they should actually not be left behind. But while this was going on, we also know about the Me Too campaign. The sexual harassment that's going on everywhere in schools on a daily basis. In 2017, I took up the case of Monica Osagi, if you remember. The lady who was assaulted by a professor at the University of Ife, Obafemi Awolowo University. And I can proudly say, somebody said, talk about your narrative. Today, that was the first professor that was convicted for sexual harassment. So in the non-for-profit, which we engage on issues, I'm a lawyer by profession, and if there are greater cockeyes here, so I also teach. So I teach constitutional law and human rights law and gender and the law at the University of Lagos. So greater cockeyes. And for those who are from my school also, Great Ife, if you are here. Thank you very much. So we know what this is all about, and we know that sexual harassment is a big issue. And by the time I moved into the academia, they were asking, After you have jailed the lecturer, are you here to come and jail more? But today, there are policies within the university, addressing sexual harassment. The situation has not really reduced as you would expect, but there are steps that are being taken. I am proud to say in the University of Lagos, a lot of development are taking place. There are apps now that students can use to send messages, to whistleblow. So we are developing. So Nigeria is a possibility. Nigeria is possible. Another Nigeria is also very possible. And just like the gentleman who spoke there, until it is done. So the ability to do it resides in all of us. To be able to change the country to the kind of country we have. Gender discrimination has no boundary, and I need to let you know. It doesn't matter whether you're a professor. It doesn't matter whether you're a rich woman or you are a poor woman. When the time comes, you will be shocked and say, oh, even me, I can be discriminated against. Whether in the place where you work, whether in the family where you are and you are with your husband and you are best of friends, and something happened. Then you get a text message, the professor got that, a text message saying that, well, now that Baba is gone, you're expected to come into the village. We need to scrape your hair. We need to give you, so many things. That is still there. They didn't remember at that time that that woman they were talking to can speak all the English from morning till evening. So it has no boundary. So gender discrimination is everywhere. And for Nigeria, because of our cultural and traditional background, it is systemic, it's prevalent, and is sustaining. And the only thing that can push it out is the Sustainable Development Goal, so that the possibility is what is sustainable and not what we have. So I was looking at all this that we started working around the Constitution, and this started since after President Obasanjo came in 1999, when Nigerians decided that there was a need for a new constitution for the country. There are conversations around federalism. There's a lot of talk about whether we have the best federal system of government, and they said we don't have what is called true federalism because states are not independent. In New York, there's New York State Police. We don't have Lagos State Police here. And that's a way to manage the kind of federalism that you have. There were so many issues from 1999, and there were developments as we go through the nascent democracy. In 2003, 2005, there was National Political Reform Conference, which was supposed to engage in reforming the country and changing the country to the country that would have a constitution that is okay for everyone. After that National Political Reform Conference, about 30 women were invited. Initially, there were 6 women invited, and there were 360 men. And we came out and we said, we no go agree. What is this about? And they increased the number to 30 women, So after that, but what came out of it? Absolutely nothing. In 2007, President Umaru Yar'Adua came on board, and he said his electoral system was one of the most terrible one ever in the history of Nigeria. And so there was the waste report. The waste report was to bring Nigerians together, listen to Nigerians. And they came up with very beautiful documents to make Nigeria a better country. And that document also stayed there. Nothing happened. In 2015, another national conference. The same talk, and nothing happened. So along the line, there were also some changes in the Constitution. One of the beautiful changes we saw in the Constitution is the not too young to run, where younger people came together and insisted. I think when one of my sisters here was talking, she talked about the youngest female parliamentarian in Kwara State. I think we are proud of her, that she was able to make it. And that was part of the outcome of the not young to run bill. So there were about 14 items in the Constitution. The language of the Constitution is not even sensitive. It shall be the president of Nigeria. And that's where we have the E becoming the president of Nigeria. There is chairman. In the entire Constitution, we took our time to count it. Sorry, they will say we are lazy, but we did, to count it. In 269 places, the word "e" was used. There were 2 places in the Constitution that the word "woman" or "she" was used. In those 2 places in the Constitution, they were discriminatory. One of the places is Section 29. Section 29, 4B talks about issues of registration for becoming a citizen. And it says you must be 18 years before you can have that ability to do so, except if you are married. So the exception is except if you are married. So if you are 13, and we know that in some places in this country, a woman gets married at the age of 9. Is that not so? At the age of 7. So the Constitution gave with one hand and took it back, recognizing the challenges that we have. Section 26 talks about citizenship. And I think one of our brothers I was talking to, we were asking him whether he's a Nigerian citizen, and he said, no, he's not. And I laughed, and I said to my sister sitting beside me, I said, that's an interesting conversation going on in Nigeria. If you are an American lady and you marry a Nigerian man, are you an American citizen or not? You are an American citizen. By virtue of the fact, and that's why you see a lot of our people who want to be American go over there, get married, to American citizens so that they can become American. About 50% of people in the National Assembly, they are carrying dual citizenship by virtue of that. But that's not allowed here. It's not acceptable in Nigeria. The Constitution does not allow it. So Section 26 of the Constitution was clear about that discrimination. Where it is discriminatory, it says any woman who is married. So what that section does is to remove that right from women to be able to make their husbands citizens of Nigeria. So now, if you look at that, especially if you place that with globalization and a whole lot of things going on, then you ask yourself, so how can the huge number of Nigerian women globalize if there are limitations, in that regard? So these are some other issues, were the issues that, brought us to engage this last process of constitutional review, especially because the National Assembly gave the Nigerian people the assurance that that constitution will be changed. So we had 14 areas of the Constitution that we were interested in, that we wanted to change. And when we saw the constitution of the people that were supposed to amend the Constitution, we realized that we didn't have enough women. The data from WIMPOL is very clear. As we speak today, there are 360 men in the House of Rep, and there are just only 17 women. At the Senate, there are 107, and there are only 4. So thank God yesterday, our dear sister from Kogi State joined them, making 5. But there are about 2 of them that are also still in court. So as we are gaining, we don't know whether we are going to lose. So it's a huge problem. So we engaged that constitutional review, and we had Professor Akioyode-Afolabi, who is the current Deputy Vice Chancellor of UNILAG, who was with the Senate Committee to help to assist to see how there can be issues of gender equality within the Constitution. And we had Professor Joy Ngozi Ezelo, who is also from UNN, who was with the House of Rep, and they were guiding them in terms of those issues for constitutional review. Unfortunately, out of the 14, the National Assembly took only 5. And those 5 became the gender bills that we're talking about. So if you look at this book, I dropped it on the table for everyone, and I'd also sent it to our sister Ansatu to help us to send it around. These are the 5 gender bills. The first issue is about indigenship. Women gradually are becoming stateless in Nigeria. If you are married to someone from Ogun State and you are from Lagos, you might not have the ability to contest in Lagos. Is that not so? That's one of the issues we're asking for. The second issue is the issue of citizenship. The issue of citizenship, as I discussed it earlier. The third, fourth, and five had to do with affirmative action. We need your support. We need you to run with us. We need you to put your money where your mouth is. Gender equality is not only a right, it's also a necessity for development. Thank you and God bless you.